So the title of this talk is App Builder in 45 Minutes. I just want to make sure you all can hear me back there. I'm mic'd up good? Excellent. Okay. I scour the internet for vintage ads, so if you like them, let me know. Some of these are actually really funny. Some of them are kind of inappropriate, but that's okay. My name's Jen Looper. I'm a developer advocate here at Telerik, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jen Looper, and I hope to find you all online. All right, mobile apps. I love mobile apps. I have a terrible weakness for mobile apps. And I have a really large portfolio that just keeps growing. It's kind of out of control, and I think I need an intervention. But this is part of my portfolio across 4 different platforms. I do ebooks. I used to be the ambassador for Corona SDK, so I have a lot of games and ebooks in that platform. If you've ever used that, that's a lot of fun. I have I do a lot of educational apps, so learning foreign languages, dancing, fitness. I love fitness apps. They actually are a lot of fun to build and to get moving. Gift Blur is to create Christmas wish lists. I'm going to have to repackage that so that I can hit the kids on their birthdays too. It's very fun. That's done using Telerik platform. I'm redoing Practice Buddy. Practice Buddy was my very first app. It's to help kids learn how to incentivize themselves and get their parents to incentivize them to practice their musical instruments. So you do a practice session, you hit the timer, complete the practice session, and then you get a little reward. That's a lot of fun. So all of these kind of things, I just go a little crazy for them. And because I love mobile apps, I love to just splatter them all over across platform. And if you've ever tried to do this, wanting to create a large portfolio of apps, you're going to find that you've got a problem right off the bat. So you want to create mobile apps, but you're like, oh my gosh, I have to write first for Android, and then for iOS, and then for Windows Phone. And oh my gosh, I also want to deploy on Amazon. It just gets crazy, and it's not a pretty sight. So I'm just wondering, who's deployed mobile apps in production? Who's having success on iOS? A little marketing, just wondering. Success on iOS? Success on Android? Oh, interesting. Okay. I've never done anything on Android. For me, it's all iOS, so I don't even know. It's a mystery. It's a little bit magical. Stop the madness. We're going to stop that right there. No more writing in 4 different languages for 4 different platforms. What you're going to do is you're going to build a mobile app cross-platform using the web skills you already have and create a hybrid mobile app. And to do that, we're going to use Telerik AppBuilder. Treats for everyone. AppBuilder. It offers a little for everyone. Let's talk about all the candy that we show. Okay. Telerik AppBuilder can help you. You're going to love hybrid because it gives you the ability to have that magical idea of write once and run everywhere, just like they used to say about Java. So it's really a single code base, code it up, deploy it for all the platforms. It's really great. Oops, there's a little typo there. You're going to be using HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, write it once, it's awesome. Access to native APIs, for example, if you need to use a native device's camera, a couple lines of JavaScript will get you there. And even though you're writing for a hybrid, you're writing cross-platform, you can still have access to all the App Store presences. You can still monetize across platforms. You can use in-app purchases. There's plugins for that. It works really nicely. And users cannot tell the difference. Anyone using an app called Swirkit? Ooh, download Swirkit and take a look. Nice hybrid mobile app, actually built with Ionic, works beautifully. It's almost a native experience. It's very, very nice. Let's talk about AppBuilder under the covers. What's under the covers of AppBuilder? It's using Apache Cordova. And it has JavaScript proxies over to native APIs, just like what I was talking about with the camera. So you can go ahead and proxy right over to that and leverage that native API. So AppBuilder really is cross-platform, mobile development, simplified. It gives you full developer freedom, end-to-end tooling. You basically build the way you like it, and we give you the tooling to help. All the back-end services you need. That's where we can come in and really help you all. Anybody built a PhoneGap app recently? Do you like it? You liked it? Did you have any issues with tooling? Because I did, and it made me cry. It was really not a pretty sight. So when I joined Telerik, I just discovered this world of really nice tools for PhoneGap style apps. Thank God. Oops, what did I just do? All right, have it your way. Your coding environment. What tools are you using right now to develop in? Do you like Sublime? What are we using? Sublime? Who's using Visual Studio? Who wants a Whopper? Visual Studio. Right. I'm just teasing. I like Visual Studio. Sublime? Sublime users? Okay, awesome. Basically, with our tooling, you can build this mobile app basically the way you like, using the tools that you already know. Use your favorite IDE to build. So here we have a Visual Studio extension. So you never basically have to leave your Visual Studio environment to build your app. It works really, really nicely. Sublime Text plugin, same thing. I was recently working with kids in a hackathon, and they installed the Sublime Text plugin right into their Sublime install, and just started deploying away, and they built a mobile app by the end of the hackathon. And these are kids who really didn't have much experience as programmers. It was really nice to watch. There's also a Windows desktop client that we offer, codename Graphite. So if you are a Windows user and you like to have that sort of integrated environment all to yourself on your screen, you like that desktop option, we do offer that as well. It works really well. And we have the in-browser client. So basically, you're building your entire mobile app within the browser. So if you go right now to platform.telerik.com, you'll experience the in-browser client. And I'm going to be showing a little bit about how that looks. I tend to switch between the CLI and the in-browser client to create my mobile apps. But this is what the in-browser client looks like. And then there's the CLI. And the CLI is a fast way to go ahead and develop right on your local. So you're just building your mobile app on your local, and then you can actually send it straight to the App Store right off the CLI. And that works beautifully. So the command line interface, sorry if I'm bombarding with acronyms. Stop me if I do. This works really nicely as well. Let's talk about creating an app using the in-browser app builder platform in 4 easy steps. All right? First, you're going to create an account at platform.telerik.com and sign in. You can have a free trial for 30 days and give it a shot. Step 2, create an app project. So it's going to prompt you in the in-browser experience to say, create an app builder hybrid project. And you go and you make some choices. Now you can play with Screen Builder that was just released. I actually haven't even played with it yet. I'm so excited to try it. We'll see what it's like. You can try NativeScript in the in-browser experience. Also, I have yet to really dig into that, but I'm sure it's epic. You can build in TypeScript any way you like. Okay, so you create your app. Start from a blank app. With Screen Builder, start from a sample app. Some people like to just start with some sample code, see all the pieces fitting together, see how it works. Give it a name and a description, and hit Create App. And number 4, you start adding elements to your hybrid project. So you have a hybrid project. You might want to add on a mobile website project. This is still in the beta. When I took the screenshot, it was still in beta. A native project, same thing. You might add backend services to it. We're going to talk about that in a little bit so that you can have a nice database behind your app. Add analytics, add app feedback, app prototyper. It is just, like I said, it's treats. It's a lot of candy. And it's very exciting to start looking at all these options that you can use. And you're ready to roll. So this is what the in-browser client looks like. And it basically scaffolds for you, if that's what you chose for it to do, a Kendo mobile app. And the sample that I'm going to show you is a Kendo mobile app. So I showed you the in-browser experience. This is all done in a browser. I just want to move now to the CLI, because this is sort of how I myself work, start in the CLI and then go in the browser. But I just wanted to show you the browser, to show you what it's like. Let's talk about the CLI. Different workflow. Start building your app with the CLI. This is one way that works nicely. Push up to GitHub, push your code to GitHub, And then in your in-browser experience in platform.telerik.com, you pull in your code and you start working in browser once you're ready to do that. So it gives you this kind of nice workflow. And once you're in browser, you can collaborate with other team members. We have a nice ability to collaborate. That's really nice. So here's a CLI. All it is basically npm install AppBuilder, and then you have that available on your local. You can start playing. If you ever are lost, you just do appbuilder-help, and it'll give you a list of commands so that you can kind of refresh your memory about what the heck you're supposed to be doing. I do it all the time. To build an app, to create a new app, the command is appbuilder create hybrid. Give your app a name, my sample app. Give it an app ID, Ladies First Media, that's my company, my Kendo sample, for example. Change directory into the directory that was just created, and then simulate, and bang. You have a nice simulator right on your local with a basic tab strip Kendo UI mobile app scaffolded. And the CLI allows you to kind of try it before you buy it. You can look at sample apps. You can use AppBuilder sample clone, and then there's a whole list of sample apps that you can clone and take a look, see if that's what you know, maybe there's bits and pieces that you can use. So you're basically pulling down bits of code onto your local. And I mean, this is very useful. For example, when I needed to integrate push notifications, I cloned the sample app for push because I always get completely lost when I'm dealing with push notifications. So I just cloned the sample app, and then I can pick and choose bits and snippets of code that I wanted to use in my own project. Very, very useful. And then you can go ahead and simulate. So with this example, I created a Facebook API sample and then simulated, and I can take a look at how it's working. Let's talk about the simulator. With the CLI and in browser, I think our simulator is one of the best in the businesses. It's really, really nice. It works really well. And you can simulate, look at all the devices that they give you. Your iPhone, Android, Windows, Google, Nokia, Samsung, LG. All of these phones that you can take a look at how your app is going to perform on. You can rotate it right, rotate it left, make sure your responsiveness is proper, make sure it looks right. Zoom in, zoom out. One thing that somebody upstairs told me is that you can make it vibrate. Yeah, you can shake, so that's pretty cool. And then this is the part that I find really is the most helpful, is that because you're basically working in a simulator, which is basically a web page, you can have access to your dev tools, your Chrome dev tools. So you have your console right there. You can dig into the DOM, see what the heck is going on, something isn't right. You can look and see, you can click on resources and look in your local storage. I tend to store a lot of stuff in local storage for my mobile apps. It's all there. And then we have some extra bits here. We have file storage and geolocation, so you can make mocks, like how is my app going to behave? If it's a weather app, how is it going to behave if I change suddenly to Dubai or something like that? So you can mock up situations and test your app in simulator, how that's going to work. It's a very nice simulator. I think you'll like it a lot. So at a certain point, you're going to want to stop simulating and you're going to want to start emulating. And this is where the vocabulary just, Simulation is basically looking at your app in a sort of a shell. Emulation, you've already downloaded Xcode with the Xcode simulator, so your emulator taps into that install and uses Xcode's what they call a simulator. Doesn't it just want to make you scream? Same thing with Android. So you can get a better idea of how your app is going to behave on those various platforms by emulating. It just takes a little more time because Xcode needs to think about starting eventually and get going. Same thing with Android. But once you have a good idea of how your app is going to look on simulator, move to the emulator. That's kind of like your next step. And then final step, eventually you're going to get that sucker on your device. Here's where the pedal hits the metal. And in your CLI, all you have to do is type AppBuilder build iOS with the flag companion. That tells the CLI you're going to use the companion app. The companion app is something that you download from the app stores on Android, Windows Phone, iOS. And it's basically a shell for your app. So it allows you to install your app on a device without doing an actual build, it's going to just install it within the companion app. And it allows, for example, a Windows user not to have a Mac to deploy onto an iPhone. So that's really a bit of power. Very nice. Companion app is a really fast and useful way to go about testing. Once you're done with the companion app and you want to see an actual build, you go ahead and do that. First, you have to get your provisioning all sorted out, and here's where iTunes Connect starts to get. Sorry, not iTunes Connect, the Apple developer for the iOS developers, the developer.apple.com. You go in, you get your provisioning sorted out, download that, install it into AppBuilder. Same thing with your certificate, and then you can do an actual build using the provisioning profile that you just downloaded. So the command is AppBuilder build iOS, and then you tell it which provisioning profile, and it goes to there. And it gives you a QR code. Scan the QR code, and you have an actual build now on your machine, on your iPhone or on your Android. So what I tend to do is I have a little grouping of apps in process, and I just store it there. So let's talk now about some of the truly magic stuff that happens with AppBuilder. And one of those bits is live sync. Live sync will make your life just so nice. It doesn't take much to make me happy, but this really does make me happy. Live sync for fast debugging. So what it does, there are 3 ways to invoke live sync. You can use it with the companion app that I just described, and you just install your app in the companion app, and then you use a 3-finger hold, and the whole package is refreshed. I think that TJ showed how it looks, but this is what's going on in this little video. Same thing for a built app on device, 3-finger gesture, package is downloaded. So you don't have to keep, rebuilding, zap the QR code, reinstall, or worse, side install using an APK, getting your Android on device over and over again. Just the 3-finger simulator with live sync. It works really, really beautifully. You don't even have to use 3 fingers if you're in simulator. Live sync occurs automatically in your simulator. You make a small change in your code, and it shows up immediately in your simulator. There's no, save, refresh, that sort of thing. It just, you save, and boom, you see it. That's what's happening here. He added a little alert, and then in simulator is immediate. Here, he did the 3 fingers, and then you saw that downloading package, and then it comes up. It's really great. Also, it's great if you are doing a build. You can tell your team members who have the app already on their device, okay, guys, go ahead and refresh and see the changes. It's very, very good. I think live sync is one of our real benefits. So bottom line, make changes and view those suckers quickly without needing to rebuild constantly. It's very, very nice. And then one more thing. You can make your apps the way you want. I have described scaffolding out an app using Kendo UI Mobile. Don't have to use Kendo UI Mobile. You can use Ionic. That one. Use it. It's okay. Build the darn thing any way you want and deploy it on the platform, on Telerik platform. That's the message I just want to say. Build your apps the way you want. Angular, jQuery UI, use Knockout, use Kendo UI if you want to, use Backbone or React, Ionic, go ahead and use it. And then deploy it on the platform. And then you have access to all the backend services, all the refreshing, live sync, all that hot stuff. It's very good. All right. All right, enough blah, blah. Let's get cooking. I wish my kitchen looked like this. It's really not. Okay. So for this session, I thought what I would try to do, and this was a little ambitious and it shows when I was writing the abstract. This was the game that everybody was playing when I was writing the abstract, which shows how fast this field is moving, especially in games. Anybody play Trivia Crack? I'll send you an invitation. You play Trivia Crack? All right, okay, yeah. All right, so Trivia Crack was the game of the moment. Let's see if I can play it, yes. And it's a very full-featured game, and I think the reason it got so popular is because it has a heavy social connection. So you can, sort of like Candy Crush, you can invite people to play with you, and you're playing against your friends. It's a really simple little trivia game. Question, 4 possible responses, you click correct, you get a point. but there's an awful lot of extra goodies in here. So let's just show how it looks. Facebook connecting, here's your scores. Here is their menu. Click New Game. Figure out what kind of game you want in your language. Spin. It's very satisfying. Click, 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 click. Cute little animation. Ah. Yes, Mongolian, I got it right. So I picked the right one, correct. And so you see how the game loop, spin, question, response, correct, incorrect, go back. We're going to do that. We're also going to do a little scorekeeping function. Let's get moving. All right. Requirements for this game is that it needs to have some content. And for me, I always enjoy integrating with Quizlet because it works really nice. It has a nice API. However, Quizlet has a ton of different quizzes in it. It's crowdsourced quizzes, so everybody's creating quizzes to study with. My kids use it all the time. So we have to be able to pick which quiz we want via a number. So we'll have a little place to enter that number. You click Start Quiz. The game loop I just described, we're going to do that. So spin, we get a random number in our list of quiz questions. Show one of the questions and 4 possible answers. Handle correct and incorrect, so we have to mark the correct answer. And we have to have some kind of scorekeeping. If I click correct the first time, I get a certain point. If I click incorrect, then I start losing points. This game is not perfect, and there's a horrible bug in it. Let's hope we don't hit it. So, the navigation, you saw at the bottom, it was 5 sections. We can go ahead and create that, easy enough. There's a chat button. We'll do it later. List of friends, same thing. But the scores button we're going to go ahead and be able to do. However, it entails a login because we have to keep, my scores. We have to figure out whose scores are whose. So we're going to need a login and we're going to need a backend integration. So this is actually a nice use case. We get to show how to integrate with an API, save scores, using a login registration routine. And also, I didn't put it on here, but I don't know if you saw the ad. There's an ad at the top, monetization. We're all trying to make an extra dime. It's like the way it is in games. So we're going to use the AdMob plugin. Yeah, Google AdMob. And we're going to make some money. Okay. So this is me sketching a GUI. It never ends up well. But there is a sort of a logic to it. So here's the spinner. Spin, question and your answers, and then you continue, so you go back. So the game loop is like this. Here's my navigation, which is here. Actually, there's a menu piece I stuck in later on. We also have to have new. I probably should put this over here because this is the new number, the quiz number that we have to enter. So we'll put that in there. And then for the chat, the friends, this is kind of to do. But we do have the scores piece here, and that's the little trophy button. So we'll have our scores here. So clear as mud. I'm just showing you my workflow. This is what I do. I sketch the GUI.
Typical design requirement.
Yeah, just like sketch it out, throw it out there. I use the paper app actually to sketch on my iPad 1. It's awesome. And I just want to, before I get started on this, I just want to mention this is just one way to build an app in AppBuilder, and please do what works for you. That's the nice thing about AppBuilder. It's really your way right away. All right. My poor lady looks so confused. This is another little secret of my workflow. I have a little Kendo seed GitHub repo, and it gives me, it's basically the style that's set to my liking. I like this particular typography, and then I have the option of using either a tab navigation or this flows out into a drawer navigation. So it's kind of like I have everything here, and I have the style sheets the way I like them. My fonts are installed. And I have some authentication kind of in the background. It's just a little seed. I encourage you, if you'd like to use it, feel free. It's up on GitHub. And I also like to modularize my code from the get-go. And I like to use require.js. Some people don't like it. Cody Lindley wrote a very good Kendo UI mobile guide. And he really hates require. So just do it the way you like. I just like to have my code where I can see it. I need to have it all listed out. All right, so that's my little seed code. So I start my app using my seed code, using the CLI. Then I go adjust colors and set navigation. again typo, sorry. Materialpalette.com is a great place to go if you're looking for a really pretty color scheme. I really like it. It's very nice. And I just picked a kind of purplish color because I thought it was pretty. And I started to set my navigation. So I got home, chat, friends, scores, and drawer at the bottom. And a nice tab strip. Started writing the navigation code. So here's the footer. And it just has several links. Each of those is going to open up a div. This is kind of UI mobile, so it's just div, div, div. Opens right up as you are opening up bits in the tab now. Next, I start overriding icons. I'm a little obsessed about icons. And I really like pretty icons. So I always go to IcoMoon and throw out everything and redo everything. So I import a WAF file with new icons. That's always a good strategy. And then I start building out the actual views. So I include require.js, and you can do this via a Bower install. So in index.html, I just include Bower. Sorry, I include require. I configure require. And then I start listing out the views that I'm going to be loading up. So I have new, spin, home, scores, off. And it ends up looking like this in Sublime, which is my tool of choice. All right. And then you noticed in the quiz game, it's a sort of a spinner that spins around, and then everything kind of trickles down and kind of bounces about. I use Animate CSS to create those animations. Just plain old CSS animations works for me. And then I start the Quizlet integration. So in new.js, which is the start screen, I set the initial quiz ID in local storage. So I grab, I'm using quiz ID 2154706 as my base quiz. It's a long, there's like 200 questions, so you can easily iterate. Grab the content of the quiz from Quizlet via an API call, and I have to parse it. And here's where writing the algorithm for the game loop started to get a little hairy, because you have to parse all the questions and answers into type-separated pairs, question-answer pairs. There it is in local storage. That's my data. Then you get to tackle the game loop. The game loop is fun. Spin the wheel, figure out how many questions are in your quiz and pick a random number. Show that question with 4 possible answers and mark the correct one as correct. I put a little star just so I can make sure I'm looking at the correct answer. Correct. If the person hits the correct answer, they're allowed to spin again. If not, show an error and stop from continuing. And this is what it ended up looking like. Not terrible. Want to see it? All right. Here we go. So here we are looking at, this is local storage. Again, I'm in the CLI. I'm using my Google tools, the Chrome tools, go look at console, but I'm going to keep local storage open. So again, quiz ID 2154706. I hope I'm online. Get the new quiz. Okay. Spin the number. And there we go. To comb is peigner. Yeah. See the game loop? Continue. Okay. French students, to know someone is? Okay, give me the wrong answer. It's not tuer, that's to kill. So here's the incorrect, okay? It's not savoir faire quelque chose, that's to know what to do. It's actually connaître quelqu'un. Okay, so there we go, so correct. So you see how, I marked the correct answer, and then I caught the ones that are incorrect, didn't allow you to continue until you got that right answer. If I want to save my score, I hit done. Score is saved, and I can look at my scores right there. Demo accomplished. All right. I know. So you could totally improve this game by marking every question that you answered I'm not doing that right now. So there's a lot of tweaks that you can do.
So you
to
don't
this
get
game.
the same question more than once?
Exactly, and the horrible bug is that if you get towards the end of this list, it's picking one and then taking 3 incorrect answers afterwards. So if you hit the end of the list, then you're going to get blank, blank, blank. Fortunately, we didn't hit the bug, so that's all good. But it is there. All right. Now, where was I? All right. Okay. So to save the scores, here's where we start getting an integration with the platform, the backend, which is available on the platform. So we're going to go ahead and add to our project. When we set it up, we just added a hybrid project. Now we're going to add the backend to it. So we add cloud data and user management. So those are these sort of like bolt-ons that you can keep adding to your app as you need them. If you want push notifications, you can just add it in the in-browser experience and platform. And then you need to add, since we're going to use the JavaScript version of the Everlive of the backend, we're going to go ahead and add that in, Everlive all min.js. And then we're going to add some forms. I'm not going to show everything here. We need login, and we're only going to show the login if a token is not set. So as you log into Everlive, into the backend, it's going to spit you back a token. I usually save that in local storage, and then you can just watch for that token and keep sending the token back to the backend so that you know that those scores belong to you as you're sending them to the backend. So we enable cloud services, we enable user management, and to do that we grab our API keys, store them locally, and go ahead, log in, create your account, get a token, and now you are logged in and you can pass data around. So that is like the 40,000 feet view of how to do a backend integration. I'm short on time, so I'm going to go ahead and keep going. We have this login and registration available that's hitting the backend. And then the scorekeeping ability basically saves your scores. When I hit done, my score was saved and sent over along with my token because I'm already logged in. It was saved and sent to the backend with some of these calls. To create, to manage the backend, you need to create a data type called scores. So it's basically like creating a database table. And that works really nicely in Telerik Backend. And then to post the score, I just created a JavaScript function called sendScore, got the score out of my local storage, and sent it right along. And you saw that alert score saved. And we know it's my score because my token went along with it, and I'm listed as the owner. We also need to display our scores. So here we create a Kendo list view that's based off of a Kendo template. Grab the scores and inject it onto the front end using the template that's listed in scores.html. And here we just show the date and then the score. So bottom line, you have a backend service, you have a login, you get data, and you display it on your front end. Okay, and that's it. So here we have our scores. And one thing that we should note is that the database tables that are created in the platform, in the backend, are content type public, so it's basically everyone's scores. So if you want to see a listing of all yours and your friends' scores, the content type is public, the permissions are public. If you want to, I changed it to private because in the trophy area, I just want to see my own scores. So simple enough to do. All you have to do is manipulate a drop-down and set it to private, and you're all set. And then one more thing, we just have to make sure we can monetize our app. This is so, so, so critical. And really, of course, as you all know, this should have been the beginning, right? Because you really need to think of your monetization first. But what we can do is we can add a plugin to use an AdMob ad. And you set up your ad in AdMob. This is the one I use for Giffler. And you go to the plugins marketplace. So Telerik has a curated plugins marketplace at plugins.telerik.com. And we maintain these plugins. These are all Cordova-based plugins, custom plugins. And they're done mostly by Eddie Verbruggen, who's coming after me, and he'll explain how they're actually created. And they're really, really good. go ahead and use the AddMob plugin to create an ad, and then you just add the ad, add the ad to your view. And it is very, very simple and works really well. And you'll start getting ad views, and you can see them trickling in AddMob. You can add plugins in the CLI just with AppBuilder plugin add AddMob, or any plugin that you want to add, you can just add it in the CLI, or you can do it in browser, which is actually a little easier because I can kind of see what all is installed a little easier. So I tend to move in browser to do the plugin integrations. And you can go ahead and select your plugins that you want to integrate. One of my apps is a beacon app, so I use the Estimate plugin, the AddMob plugin, the social sharing plugin, so it's like plugin soup. But eventually you start adding them in, and it all works very nicely. And finally, you have an app that's ready for production, in theory. This is not ready for production, but if you had an app that was ready for production, you can go ahead and deploy. You can either do it from the CLI or the in-browser toolset, and you just can migrate your files from your local into the in-browser experience, zip up your files, import it into platform. Again, view it in Companion app to make sure everything's great. If you're using custom plugins, you need to actually build a regular built app with a proper provisioning profile. So you're going to need to do that for this project because we want to see our AddMob plugin. In the in-browser experience, you can, and I really like this, you can manage your icons and your splash screens. So if you have a 1024 by 1024 PNG file of your icon, you can just drag and drop it into the in-browser, the area in the in-browser platform, and it will resize your icons for you, which is really helpful because this is one of those little piddly things that drives you crazy at the end of app deployment. Install, and finally you can see this is your ad on device. And then you are actually ready for production, so you can go ahead and publish to publish from AppBuilder to the various stores. And that was a really, really, really fast introduction to AppBuilder. There is just a ton. There is a ton of stuff in AppBuilder, and I just encourage you to go and take a look at what there is. You can always ping us in developer relations. We're happy to talk to you and help you out with the various bits and pieces and moving parts. You can ping me, Twitter, Jen Looper. We're always publishing articles on developer.telerik.com, and you can, we give you little tips and tricks, monetization strategies. I have a program called Featured App, and I'm always looking for indie developers who have created something really interesting, and I do a nice interview and get your app featured, and the prize package is really great. It is a video, a trailer video basically of your app that we create for you, and we give you an ASO analysis, so your App Store optimization analysis, showing what keywords you could use, what keywords you should be using, all of this stuff that will really help you get downloads. Because this is, my friends, this is all about downloads. We know that. So indies, if you want to be featured, if you've created something interesting and want to be featured, contact me. Visit the blogs, follow us on Twitter at Telerik, sign up for an account, and give us a spin. And start building. No pressure. Do you have any questions, and can I help you with any situations you're encountering with your app?
Is that companion app just for the development phase?
Yeah, you just want to use that for the development phase. The thing about the companion app is that your custom plugins aren't going to work in it. You need to build and deploy to see those. And you almost always are going to use a custom plugin because you need that monetization or some such.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it's a great way to just quickly share your work. Yeah.
It's like a sandbox.
Quick view, yeah. Private quick view, yeah.
For the user authentication part of
Yes,
AppBuilder,
which I totally breezed over, yeah.
I was wondering, how granular can you get? Is it basically limited to like username and login, or can you set up like role-based permissions? Let's say you're doing something more enterprising.
Yeah, there are role-based permissions for sure. You can tweak that. It's all very customizable, so you can go into the user tables and start adding bits and pieces, like if you want a prefix or that sort of thing, a Ms., Jennifer E., Looper, all of the user information you want to collect. You can just add that in. We basically scaffold you out the basics, and then you can totally tweak it the way you want. So it's very good.
And just to elaborate on this, what we can do with the user management, we can actually tie this to an ADFS service, for example. So we can hook it to up to LDAP or ADFS and get all the users.
We've got Mr. Backend Services here. So if you have any questions.
Is there a cost to actually using AppBuilder, or you just have to pay if you start using the backend services?
So I'm not sales, but you basically can get that 30-day free trial, and then it goes from there depending on the services you want to use. Is that right?
Yeah, so for the trial is 30 days. After this period ends, you can continue work in the platform, but you're kind of limited.
Yeah.
So for example, you have 2 apps in AppBuilder. You have very little data in backend services and limited push notifications.
Yeah.
But you're not stuck.
You can keep working.
But in a very limited numbers.
Yeah.
So if I'm using Visual Studio, I know that Microsoft recently released Cordova tooling. What's the benefit of AppBuilder or a plugin like that?
I haven't tried the Cordova tooling that they just released. I think it would benefit from a proper comparison, which I haven't done yet, but I think that the Visual Studio plugin, anybody using the Visual Studio plugin with AppBuilder?
So maybe,
Yeah, do you,
answer this,
yeah, maybe you should answer that one.
So one of the main differentiations there is that in AppBuilder you can compile all the apps in the cloud, and the Visual Studio requires you have all the SDKs installed locally. Another thing that we have is the simulator. Our simulator is
That's true, yeah.
And also we have the companion apps in the live sim. It's something that we cannot find currently. And if you think about the Visual Studio extension, it works in almost all the editions of Visual Studio. It works in 2015, the Community Edition, 2013, even till 2010. So if you're having some, let's say, version of Visual Studio newer than 2010, it will work.
And say if I have a developer that creates an AppBuilder project and then build that Cordova project
Yeah.
to the developers, Cordova
Yeah,
CLI.
you can do this.
Are you using Visual Studio Extension a lot? Is that your primary? You're using Visual Studio Extension primarily? Is that your tool of choice?
I'm using
Just everything?
all
I just tend to use Sublime, so yeah.
I guess I'm curious what your experience is with performance, with like rolling out scripts. This feels way more flexible, but like under.
Performance of the hybrid mobile app. I mean, everybody loves to bash hybrid mobile apps for being a bit slow. I think the thing is you have to know what is the best type of app to build with using this strategy. If you need a whiz-bang game, to be perfectly honest, you're going to use Unity, right? If you need, I mean, this is perfectly acceptable though for a nice fitness app, you know, that sort of thing, or a business app. So, and it's very good for enterprise, it seems to me, because they are usually going to be wanting that enterprise, the business style of app, where you're basically having a nice back end and loading in lots of data and viewing and sending data back. You know, that's what it's great for. So I recommend it.
You demonstrated a hybrid app. Is the roadmap going to be where we can use AppBuilder and really graphical UI to build a native script app as well?
Well, we have the Screen Builder that was just released, and I believe Screen Builder integrates with native script, right? You can go ahead and use those two strategies together, and that's great. So, yeah.
And actually for AppBuilder we have what we call the Can-Do UI designer. This is for the hybrid scenario. So when you open an HTML file in the browser, here you see a tab under the designer. But this is like see what we design. You have to set some CSS properties in this like developer specific. It's not a functional like the same.
The AppBuilder app, and I really liked it. And it was just data, just showing data that was coming from concern. One thing I found I had a hard time with was scrolling.
Scrolling.
Was I doing it wrong?
I don't.
Or-
I have to check it out.
Well, I mean, but it just seems slower than.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that I found, and there was a setting to use native scrolling.
Yeah, and TJ has written an article on developer.telerik.com all about scrolling and different strategies of how to make it really smooth and look nice, especially for iOS, the responsive scrolling. You might want to read his article. I think he'll probably have your questions answered on that one. Yeah. Yes, scrolling is hard, especially when you get loads of data. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay.